good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever you are, welcome to Two Men with a Mic. Are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, well, we're snowed in at the Overlook Hotel, and we're going to need you to send a snowcat to pick us up because Jack Nicholson is freaking out. That's what it feels like with this microphone. Remember when she was trying to radio for help? You want to hear my latest nightmare while we're waiting? No, there's no time.
We don't have that much time. Hi, Uma.
Hello, how are you?
Good. I don't know what happened to Mike.
I'm
Okay.
here. Can you guys hear me? Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Nice to hear your voice.
You too, you too. I'm excited to talk to you guys today.
Yeah, we're really excited to talk to you too.
Awesome.
Hey, is it daylight there?
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's still daylight here too.
Oh, because you guys are in summer, right?
Yeah.
What time does the sun set there? 9 o'clock?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. I miss those days.
What season is it in India?
It's peak summer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, think of it like the vortex of January in Chicago. That's the summer peak here right now. It's sort of ending. Oh my God, it's been like, we have been baking every day. It's literally you're coming out of the oven. It gets up to like 38 degrees Celsius, which is like close to like 90, sometimes up until 100.
Okay.
That's California weather every summer.
It is.
Yeah, it's sort of like that. It's also pretty muggy here. It gets very like you're sweating all the time. But I don't think that's how it is in California, though.
No, not muggy.
Yeah, it's muggy
a dry heat.
Yeah, California is more dry heat. Yeah, here it is like
it's a dry heat.
Here it's like you're taking shower like 5 times a day, and it's
it is muggy there. Yeah.
Yeah. So
did you draw a Sri Yantra in the sand outside your house?
Oh yeah, big one. You haven't seen it yet?
No, is it on your website?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. I've been fascinated with that since we brought it up in the last show.
Oh, you know what about that? There was a random Sri Yantra that showed up in, I don't know if it was Arizona, California, or New Mexico, one of those places. Did you know about that in the 80s?
No.
Oh my God, you have to find out. So there was a random Sri Yantra that showed up in the middle of nowhere in US.
Like a crop circle?
No, yeah, very similar to a crop circle, but it was a Sri Yantra itself. It was manifested.
Oh my gosh, how cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what the FBI did was they wanted to cover it up. They didn't want anybody to know. So they brought in these like 10 dorks who claimed like, oh, we sat all night and we did it. There's no possible way they could have done it with such precision. And they never let this information out. If I find that article, I'll send it to you.
Please do. So I'm very curious to look at that.
There's
in Arizona?
I don't know if it was somewhere in that state, New Mexico, Arizona, California. I'm going to say it's Arizona. I can't remember.
Oh, you know what? I just looked at. Oh, is it going to let me look at this? I just Googled it. It says Sri Yantra mystery. What happened in the Oregon desert in the summer of 1990?
Yeah, that's the one. They covered it up completely. They did not let that news come out. There are actually a lot of sacred geometry, Hindu symbols that are shown up all over US and around the world. In fact, there is a Shiva temple in Alaska that is hidden, that they're not letting out.
Really? So
yeah, there's an ancient
Shiva temple in Alaska.
I mean, Shiva temples existed all over the world. So what they call paganism is nothing but Hinduism. They don't want anybody. Yeah, they don't want anybody to know paganism and Hinduism are the same, because up until 7000 BC, there was a king that ruled from the Ural Mountains all the way to Vietnam. That was a Hindu king. If you travel throughout Europe, everywhere in Europe, if you see any Roman architecture, it has a swastika symbol, which is what Hitler used, a reverse swastika to harness the negative energy. But the swastika symbol is all through the Roman buildings. I have visited many, many Roman ruins. It's there.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, there is, in fact, the Stonehenge from Britain. That is actually it's the 27 stars in astrological sign. And they used to do fire ceremonies there way back. So what they call the Druids, whom they call the pagans, were also Hindus. And if you go to ancient Druid ruins, they all have the swastika symbol. If you think about it, Hinduism is approximately 40,000 years old.
Wow.
The oldest Vishnu idol that was discovered is 30,000 years old.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow. Well, so what's going on? So the West has been trying to suppress it to disempower people or something?
So basically, let's delve into it since we're talking. What is happening is, forget about the West. Let's take the deep state.
Okay.
Okay. So the deep state has been trying to hijack Hinduism. So what they have been doing is, Hinduism is a holistic religion, meaning it's body, mind, and spirit, and it is purely quantum physics, and it's all proven quantum theories. And every single quantum physicist knows this, but they will not utter the word because they don't want anybody to think that India is an ancient civilization. What they have done is, so basically, when the British invaded India, until the British invaded, there was no caste system in India. I'm pausing here for the effect to take it in, for the effect, because when I meet Westerners, the first question they ask me is, "Oh my God, you guys have caste system," and I don't know how to answer that. And very recently, I found out there was no caste system in India until the British came. What they did is they took the ancient scriptures, they modified it, and they said, "Oh, Hindus are savages who discriminated," which is not the case at all. So basically, what is happening in India is exactly what's happening in the US. What they're doing in the US is, all right-wing Christians are being suppressed. They're being said, "Oh, you know what? These people are so backwards. They are anti-abortion. They don't understand this. The family values are kind of like poo-pooed." Very similarly, that's happened in India. So what's happening here in India, as well as in US, is they're creating this wedge called feminism, and they're pitting men against women. So basically, what they're doing is, they don't want a nuclear family system to be, to exist, because if a nuclear family system exists, they cannot divide and conquer. Because a woman, if she leaves the home, the children are left to fend off for themselves. That's a great way to break a family. And I have experienced it firsthand because my mom was working, my dad was working. So, it's all these things. They said, "Oh, why should a woman be the only one who should cook?" I mean, when you think about it, in a very evolved, so-called evolved way, like, "Oh my God, yeah, that's true. Why should a woman cook?" But that's not the point at all. And this brings back to what's happening in the US today, where they're calling a baby food shortage. Let me make one thing clear. There is nothing called baby food shortage. There's called food shortage. Baby food shortage means the corporate baby food is short. In India, we do not buy baby food from stores, although that is coming, slowly creeping in. Every home makes baby food every day, every meal. So people have to get into their head, there is nothing called baby food shortage. There's a food shortage. There's nothing called baby food shortage. So people have to learn.
Could I say something here? So I just want to clarify on that. At least to my knowledge, no one is saying there's a baby food shortage. It's the infant formula that mothers use instead of breast milk. But there's no baby food shortage that I'm aware of.
But everything that's what they're.
But it's being orchestrated.
Right? Yes, that's what I'm saying. So you put something in the head of someone, Mitch, it becomes real. So words have power. So you start, sort of like mind controlling people, saying that there is a baby food shortage, because every news I've seen, it doesn't say infant formula. it says baby food shortage.
Yeah. And the entire the food shortage is being orchestrated. We've had, I forgot, like something like 25 food processing plants suddenly burned to the ground here in America. And it's another attack from the Biden administration arm of the deep state, of the global elites.
Absolutely.
They're trying to create food shortages to starve the third world and to again, like oppress Americans, to bring us into a tyranny, really.
Absolutely. I mean, this is where Americans have to be very careful what's being said and spread. They have to become very self-reliant, very self-reliant.
Yeah.
People need to start learning how to cook good food, not depend on corporate cheeses and sauces and stuff like that. Like simple vegetables, to boil vegetables, to roast vegetables, to use the herbs. People have to start learning it, and it's not that hard. And that's the one thing that's been taken away from Americans. Like the true there are good cooks in the US, but day to day holistic meals have to come back. All this packed food, everything has to really, people have to come away from that, because if they say food shortage, that's what they're calling food shortage. All the packaged foods are, and we don't really need them.
I just want to clarify with you guys. So I'll ask this question to Mike then. Mike, where are you seeing news that is saying there's a food shortage? Because I just want to point out that you guys are saying that what you say matters, and yet maybe it's where I live, but my daughter has 3 kids, and she has absolutely no issues with baby food or food for her children. And they live right 30 minutes from Mike. And there's been the only thing, again, I'm gonna stress on is there is a difference, 100% difference between baby food and infant formula. And the news, everything that I've read or has popped up, and I don't even watch news, so it's just what pops up on the phone type stuff, is in regards to infant formula, and they are different. They're 100% different. They are not the same in at all. They are not, because an infant formula is ground powder that is mixed with water or milk, and baby food is pre-packaged food, like you're saying, like applesauce or whatever. So I just need you guys to validate what you're saying.
Okay, well, first of all, you should have seen it in your grocery stores, and maybe your daughter hasn't told you about coming across that here. But me and every single person I know, including my family, which is my brother, my sister, her boyfriend, his wife, our friend Matthew. I mean, I don't know that many people here, but everybody I know has gone to the grocery store and found empty shelves. Have you experienced?
Well, that's been happening. You're right. There are things that are missing, but again, we're not talking about that. The conversation was about baby food. So again, because what we say matters, I'm holding you guys to what you're saying. Now, if we're going to change what we're saying, that's fine. But let's establish what we're saying here. That's all I'm asking to verify.
I agree.
Well, you just said, all I can say there is that the formula is gone, because that's the thing that I buy.
And that's 100% what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But that formula, what I'm trying to get across is we have to be careful what we say and what we hear and what's interpreted, because infant formula and baby food are 2 different things.
Right.
Correct.
But I'm saying as a general thing, you've seen empty shelves at the grocery store. And that never existed.
I agree with that.
In our lifetimes, we never saw that. And all of this stuff is being orchestrated by the deep state. There's a lot of people who speak on it, but if you're watching mainstream news, they're owned by the deep state, and they're never going to tell you. But you can check other outlets, and they have all the documents, photographs, and videos to demonstrate that it's being orchestrated.
Right. No,
can I jump in for a second?
Yes, please.
Okay. So
well, what?
So
what are you?
actually, I agree with Mitch. So here's what happened last year. Last year in 2021, I was here in April, May. There was a news floating around in the US that people in India are driving.
Oh, no, again?
It's the intelligence community because we're
all we're doing is talking about baby food.
I'm telling you, man. They got a hard on for this show.
Oh my God, let me see how I should do this.
Mr. Mitch, I think the time has come to plug Anchor.
Yep, Anchor FM. They've been great to us. They're 100% free. This whole podcast experience Mike and I are doing is basically 100% free. We know nothing about podcasting, or we knew nothing about it, I should say. We're getting better, hope.
I was going to say they know that, Mitch.
But yeah, Anchor FM, man. All you need to do is download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's 100% free. Anyone can do it. Just download the app at Anchor FM and start your free podcast. I mean, if you have any ideas or any thoughts, you just download it. You start doing it. That's what Mike and I did, and we are not experts at this. It's really easy.
And if you act now, you'll also be able to download a virtual Mitch who really knows what he's doing.
No, but it's awesome. And, we really recommend anybody who wants to try and do a podcast, you have any ideas,
if
just
you
make
want
a podcast.
Express yourself to the world.
Yeah.
It's there for you.
Yeah. We encourage anybody to do it. Anchor has been great. It's all free. We haven't bought a thing. We're just using our phones. We have no high-tech equipment. We're just having a good time, and anybody can do it on Anchor. So we really recommend it. Check it out. You can find it anywhere in your app stores, all that stuff. It's Anchor or anchor.fm.
Enjoy. I have a question about what we were just talking about. But so do you think that the deep state tries to suppress religions? You mentioned both Christianity and Hinduism.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
To disempower people, like to keep them from spirituality?
Yes. So basically, let's talk about US, okay? So for years, there's been people, hardcore Christians have been talking about, abortion, don't go for it. They have been literally like, hey, this is wrong. If you go by the Bible, this is not right. So all the Planned Parenthood and everything, they have been like, well, this is a woman's right. It's my body, my right, blah, 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 blah. And I have been also part of that mentality. I'm not going to deny that. So why did they do that? Because if you think about it, in my mom's time, my mom had 7 children. Okay, 3 passed away, and none of my grandparents ever had an abortion. And this abortion thing is a very recent thing. So they're literally, not only are they saying, well, abortion is not wrong, okay, and they're saying, well, there's no life in an infant or a child that's 3 months, whatever we call it, 3 months, a baby in the womb. So, what are they trying to tell us? That is not true at all. Recently, I saw a video where a 3-month-old baby still had a heartbeat. So they're literally doing some kind of satanic ritual through these abortions. And I'm not saying that there are extreme cases where we need to do that. There was a case in Ireland where this girl was literally losing tons of blood, and she needed to abort the baby, otherwise they couldn't save her. The Irish hospital denied her an abortion. See, that's an extreme case. What they're trying to do here is they're trying to normalize sexual activity. And they're saying, oh, if you get pregnant, you can have an abortion. Why do you normalize something that is so not trivial?
Yeah. Well, and I've been hearing that they have abortions like at 9 months, and that in some states they're talking about having abortions up to 2 weeks after birth.
Yes, I saw that recently. I saw that that's
Wait, say that again, Mike. I'm sorry, that
there are
confused
some
me.
states where you can abort at 9 months with the baby, and there are some states now it's either in effect already or they're about to okay giving abortions. I mean, it isn't even the traditional abortion, but that you can kill a baby up to 2 weeks after it's born. Wow. So it isn't like the old argument is like, well, no, it's just a cluster of cells, and so we abort before it becomes human. But you can get an abortion when you're 9 months pregnant now, and then
where is that?
I don't know. You'd have here. Let's see. You'd have to Google it.
I think Candace Owens or someone talked about it very recently. Someone talked about it, that they are legalizing. I thought they were trying to bring it forth. That 2 week thing. I thought they were trying to bring it forth, and it was not in effect. But I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I just Googled abortion at 9 months, and so this is well, I'm not sure what this is. I think it's a college, but there's a bunch of articles that popped up, and when they're calling it partial birth abortion, and it's the term that Congress uses to describe a procedure that crosses the line from abortion to infanticide, and the doctor delivers a substantial portion of the living child outside of his mother's body, the entire head, in a head first delivery, or the trunk past the navel in a feet first delivery, then kills the child by crushing his skull or removing his brain by suction. Oh, and this is coming from the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops.
Are they the one that?
So it's not a state that's doing it; it's doctors that are doing it. But it's not.
Yeah, but
it's not a state that legalized it.
It's legal in some states. Okay, I just looked it up. 8 states allow abortion up to the moment of birth, and the states are Alabama, Alaska, Arizona. There's 47. Well, 8 states. Let's see. I don't want to eat up all our time with me
that's fine.
Scanning articles, but basically the headline is that at least 8 states allow 9-month pregnancy abortions, and then both and I just heard recently that it's either been it's either on the table and they're considering voting it in, or it's already happening, that in a couple of states you can kill the baby after it's already been born up to 2 weeks.
Wouldn't that be murder?
I guess they're still arguing that it isn't really a human. I know. No, it is. At that point, it absolutely is. I don't buy the argument that they usually make, which is like, well, it's before it takes a human shape or before it has a heartbeat, then it's just cells, so that's okay. There's sort of an argument in that, not for me because I'm spiritual, but I could see people arguing that. But the minute there's a heartbeat and it has a human shape, I say the abortion option is out. Do you agree?
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's what I. That's what I was. I mean, I don't agree with abortion at all.
Okay, neither do I.
What I don't agree with is I guess it's just my way of looking at it is I don't agree with telling people what to do with their bodies. But I don't agree with abortion at all. I think it's a bad choice, but it's not my
I think
place
that's no longer your body. Now you're dealing with
let's talk about
body.
it. Yeah, let's talk about that, because Mitch, so here's where we who are fighting for something are sort of like saying, oh, it's okay, but you know what, I thought about this is how they have been trying to manipulate.
Well, wait, I want to correct you on something. I never said it was okay. I just said it's not my place to tell somebody else what to do with their body. That's what I don't agree with. It's
let's
just
take
like
that.
it's not my place to tell someone their religious beliefs or anything else, right? So I do not agree with it. What I don't agree with is telling people what to do, because where does it stop? Pretty soon they're going to tell you, you know what, we think this is bad, so now you can't do this. And then they're going to say pretty soon, you shouldn't be able to do this because we think it's bad. So, that's my thought on that. But I'm sorry,
But you
go
know
ahead.
what, Mitch? But you know what, Mitch? You bring up a good point. I think this needs to be addressed. What you're saying, we need to address it because there's two sides to this coin. My body, my choice. Let's talk about this because it's a very crucial and pivotal statement. Okay, so when we talk about this, when you stick to the moral codes, every family, every human being has a moral code. Otherwise, why be born? I can
Right.
come, live, and do whatever I want and die. The point is they started out that way. Why did they start out that way? Because they're trying to say, if you say someone that, oh, what you're doing I don't like, it's wrong. But you know what, I used to think that way. I no longer adhere to that because I think what happens is this is where the LGBTQ has gone a little too far, going with children as young as 7 to have to transition into a male or female body and having therapies to change their gender. So then it becomes like it's my child. He will do whatever he wants. But what message are we sending to the future generations? And we are basically botching a human being that is born perfectly in divine, resemblance. And we're saying, well, you know what, you can do what you want. So that becomes a very controversial subject. So I think, yes, there is a limit. Someone cannot say, well, I don't like the way you dress. Okay, but that's their choice. But even that, if I had a child, I want the child to dress morally. And that means that I'm not thinking about having a hijab from head to toe, but don't be provocative. You know what I mean? Don't be provocative. It is not okay.
That's parenting 101. I got 3 daughters, so I completely understand that. It's very hard.
That's my point. So it starts at home. We don't have to go and tell people outside what they can do, but it starts at home. I now witness in India, in my town, which is a very, very, they're very conservative. Now I'm seeing females showing their midriffs, sitting on a bike and showing their ass. And I'm like, is this real? It's not okay.
In America, they're taking elementary school students to sex shops.
Exactly.
And gay clubs. It's all part of this push, which is really to destroy everything. I'm not anti-gay in any way.
No, it's but you know what?
It's a breakdown in the moral fiber.
That's my point.
And that at least in my thought is, that starts in the homes, right? That starts in the families. That starts somewhere along the lines where not all everybody's perfect, and I'm at the top of the list of screw ups, but there are still things that parents can do, right? And some parents choose to do it, and then others, I think that they cop out. I think that a lot of those things are parents copping out on being a parent and choosing to be. My wife would say this, and it's funny it's coming from me, but in our household, I'm the fun one and my wife is the strict one. So it's all fun and games when everyone's hanging out with dad, and but then when mom's here, we have rules and stuff. But and I was that way, so I'm kind of speaking to myself. I mean, my kids are grown, so I can't really screw them up anymore, but But
you can do it, Mitch.
I can do it. Just give me a kid back. I'll screw him up more. But we had that balance in our house, and I think, and and my kids aren't perfect, right? I have a daughter who got pregnant in high school, and she's strong, and she has a beautiful family, and she's a beautiful woman, and she just had to struggle sooner than other people. So I'm proud of everything she did, because she still graduated, and she still fought through her challenges, and is doing great. So I just think, just going back to, I hear what you guys are saying, and I don't disagree actually with what you guys are saying. I just think that until parents step up and want to be real parents, the problem's not going to get fixed. You're not going to, I don't think the deep state has to do anything. There's just so many damn lazy parents out there that they can fuck up all on their own.
Well, they're discouraging them from parenting, and they're encouraging children to be sort of handed over to the deep state. Really, they're breaking down the family. They're breaking down the community. They're saying the teachers own the children in school, and the government owns them all the rest of the time. Basically, are the thrusts in all of the socio-political movements.
I agree.
Without running off too deep on this subject, because I know we could, but I really was hoping to get back to some questions and stuff that came up out of the last episode. We established that I'm a rookie, and I don't have much background, but I will say that Mike and I have had many of these conversations. And we haven't. This will be our first. This would be an episode when Mike and I aren't in alignment.
What? That's impossible, man. We're both emanating from the same morphic field, man. How can we not be in alignment?
Yeah. But this is the part too, that because Mike and I do love each other, that we've always gone with the agree to disagree.
Yes.
kind of thing. So with that being said, what I wanted to tell you is I don't want to argue. This is not about arguing of any kind. I spent enough of my lifetime arguing with people that I don't do that. And so I just want to let you know that that's not, and I'm not trying to debate or even actually change anyone's mind or any of that. While I was editing the first episode, I wrote down questions that kind of came to my mind that I had for both you, Uma, and Mike. And I told Mike this, but I also did not share the questions with Mike. Okay. So Mike doesn't know. He knows there's questions, but he has no, and my questions, it's not like I got hardballs, or anything like that. It's just legitimate questions for me, and that sort of thing. So, you guys can discuss amongst yourselves as to which one of you wants to answer, or you guys can answer them together, or whatever. They're all talking points, right? So it's not I would hope we don't get a yes or no answer. It doesn't make the podcast very good.
No, and Mitch, I really appreciate what you're trying to do, because we need a healthy discussion. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it doesn't matter what background we are in, whether we're Christian or Muslim or whatever, but we need to come to a point of like, what do we call the what do we call Satan? US the Jesus. We have to come to that point
Yeah,
to
come to Jesus meeting.
come to Jesus place, and we
Yeah.
have to do that. And for me, I really, I'm not, even though the way I speak, it seems like I'm trying to propagate a religion. That's not what I'm trying to do, because I've delved into it deeper, and I want to respect all religions and what they're doing, because everybody's coming to the same point anyways. So I completely agree, and I think I understand what you're trying to say.
Well, that's good, because now you can explain it to me. No.
Okay, all right, let's do it.
I already know the first question.
Yeah. So the first question
Yeah.
is, what did I just say?
Oh no, I thought the first question was going to be: is it possible to abort baby food?
Oh. Okay. Well. I just wanted, going back to the first episode, and there was a lot of conversation, and regarding karma, and
Mhm.
you know, I think everybody has an idea of what they think karma is, but I just thought it would be important if you guys can kind of try and define it, a little more black and white, if you can, is kind of like, what is karma?
Okay. Mike, you want to go, or do you want me to go?
No, you're the expert. I want to hear from you.
Okay, so karma is every action you take at this moment determines both your past and your future. This is purely quantum entanglement. So what that means is, if you take two particles that used to be together and you separate them far apart, and you send energy to both of them, and you observe from different distances, they behave the same. And that is what karma is basically. So in Hinduism, there is rebirth. There's not one birth. So the rebirth is very essential to you completing your past life, whatever lessons you didn't complete. Basically, karma is a lesson, and you're going to complete that lesson. The ultimate in Hinduism is to attain moksha. What does moksha mean? When you're born over and over again, there's only one reason you're born over and over again. You want to merge the soul. Once it departs from your family, it needs to merge with the morphogenetic consciousness field, which is the God field. So in Hinduism, there is nothing called heaven and hell, even though the current Hinduism has it because of manipulations within it. So the seven chakra system plays a vital role in that as well. You come into this life. When you come into this life, you actually go into a way station, and you're asked, did you finish your? It's very similar to going to a school. Did you complete your lessons? And what is your next life lessons that you want to learn? What is it that's going to be? Who is going to be your mother? Who is going to be your father? Everything is predetermined before you come into the womb. And when you lead your life, you have to complete those lessons. Then you go back, and you have to keep coming back until your lessons are complete. That's your karma. Karma is not all bad. There's good karma and there's bad karma. Bad karma, basically, karma is related to dharma. So, what is dharma? Dharma is moral code values. But here's where there is a little bit of, you know, um, thing about good or bad that gets a little bit fuzzy. When you do an action, the intention behind that action is more important than the action itself. Let's say, like the classic example we're talking right now is you have a child that's dressing badly. If your intention is to teach the moral code for the child, you are doing the right thing. Therefore, we don't have to question ourselves, are we doing the right thing or not? The other thing is karma is related to conscience. Your conscience comes from your soul. Your conscience always speaks. When you bypass the conscience, you're actually accumulating bad karma. So there is, in Hinduism, it is totally all about quantum physics. Everything that happens here right now impact your future life and your past life. So the seven chakras in your body, the more you evolve, you keep evolving in your chakra, and it keeps going up. People who are not evolved further than their first chakra, which is the Muladhara chakra, They're more living in the physical plane of materialism. So when they die, there are 7 astral planes in uh, in the cosmos. So your soul goes into the corresponding astral level. Unlike heaven and hell concept, here you have a 7-layer concept. When you pass away, Hindus actually are supposed to burn their bodies, not what do we do?
Bury them.
Not bury them. Yes. The reason we don't bury them is when you burn the body, the skull pops, and when the skull pops, it creates a solution wave, and that solution wave is used for the soul to travel, and it gets projected into the current astral layer, and this is how it works. So when you go into a particular astral layer, until you reach the 7th astral layer, you're going to be born back and forth again and again, because you still have karma, and you still have to be reborn.
Okay. So, because I hear people say, or, if you do, that, then you're going to have bad karma. And like you said, it's more of your intent behind an action. I know, in other words, if you cut Mike's hand off by accident, then you're not going to have bad karma for that. Mike will just have one hand missing, right?
Yeah. Well, you can try and see what happens, but let's go with that.
As I said, Mitch and I argue, but we do love each other. He never lays around thinking of cutting my hand off. Well, okay, so is karma the same thing as you sow, so shall you reap?
Yes, very much so.
Okay.
Very much so, yeah.
But it's more on the what's the right word? Like the soul or personality of the person, right? I mean, there are tons of people out there who truly mean no harm and then end up, with doing something tragic.
Mm-hmm.
Like cutting their best friend's hand off.
Yeah. So that's what we're talking about. It's more of, when you're saying karma, you're talking about the intent of the soul, or the true motive behind their actions.
Exactly. So, for example, if there is you can take the war right now. The war right now is completely based on materialistic needs and one country wanting to overpower the country, blah blah blah. But there has been wars in Hinduism. There's been a Mahabharata war, there has been the Ramayana, and each one of these wars were actually happening for a particular reason. And I'm pretty sure that there is going to be a war in the future for us, but that will be to establish dharma and to bring back the moral code. And when you are going into a war for that particular purpose, it's a completely different deal. So if you take the Bhagavad Gita, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, who doesn't want to aim the arrow at his guru, and Krishna goes, well, you don't have a choice. You have to do it. But then there is also karma associated with that. It's not that, okay, you're killed, it's done, blah, blah, blah. It's not like that. So, for example, Krishna himself, there's Mitch, you may not be aware of the story, but I'll tell a little bit. There's these cousins who are fighting with each other. And this one cousin group, there's 100 children there are 100 children in this group. So basically, Krishna destroys these 100 children, but there's more to it. It's not like he kills them. There's more into that story. So their mother, she comes back to Krishna and she goes, Krishna, you could have avoided this. And he goes, no, I couldn't. But she goes, you are God. You could have avoided it, but you didn't. You took away my children. And the pain that I have gone through, you will experience it. So you see, the intention, yes, but still, he took the wrath of the mother And so when Krishna died, his right foot was the weakest link for him. And an archer by mistake, he hit his foot with an arch, and he could not sustain that pain, and he immediately died. But here's the thing: in Hinduism, there is three gods, and these three gods are not a physical manifestation; they're cosmic allegories: Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu. Shiva is the destroyer, Vishnu is the sustainer, and Brahma is the one who's a creator. Among these three gods, Vishnu is the only one who takes a human form, 13-strand DNA human form. And Krishna was a manifestation of Vishnu who came into a human form. And this is not some mumbo jumbo, some Harry Potter kind of series. This is, yeah, I mean, when you hear, right, when you hear it, it's kind of like, yeah, that can't happen. And
hey, they owe us money now, Mike.
What's that?
They owe us money, Harry Potter.
Oh,
we just
yeah.
talked about him on the show.
Yeah. So, there is karma associated with everything, but it's also the intention behind it. But no matter what you do to someone, you will have to experience that back within yourself, because ultimately karma is not about right or wrong. What you did to someone, you have to experience it back. That's the simple truth about it.
So Krishna did have bad karma for doing what he did, that he actually experienced?
Yeah, it's not. So when the 13-strand humans are formed as Vishnu's human manifestation, they have to follow the principles of karma. They're not devoid of karma. They have to follow it, because in human form, karma is essential.
Right. I mean, I guess we can't really exist in the illusion at all unless we have karma to sort of, yeah.
So
karma
that kind of
as action.
That kind
but
of.
I've heard that story of Krishna a lot. Like, it's really controversial because basically Krishna killed people, but I've never heard that he had to pay for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the reason behind Mahabharata, the 100 children, was because these 100 children were test tube babies. And they were not part of the moral code. And Krishna did not have a choice but to take them out. But the way he took them out is also a very interesting story. They actually attained moksha. They all went to the 7th astral projection. Whereas the teachers who were following the moral code did not get the moksha. So it's kind of, it's not a linear kind of understanding of karma. It's very intricate and complicated. But at the same time, all we need to know is do what is right for your conscience, and use your free will, and also stick to the moral codes. When you do something and you don't stick to the moral codes, then you're not even following karma. You're not thinking about it. You're just doing whatever you want to do.
You had mentioned in the episode that there's kind of a difference between guilt and karma.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying that in the Christian form, they preach more of guilt versus in Hindu, it's more about karma, and there's not a guilt. Can you kind of expand on that, just so we're all on the same page?
Sure. So there's a lot of Indians or Hindus who feel a lot guilty. That has nothing to do with that particular, what we talked about. What they're saying in Hinduism is, you're not born a sinner. You're born with all these lessons you have to learn. Because if you look at, it's not even about whether it's right or wrong, Mitch. It's about the fact that when we tell someone that you're sinned the minute you're born, we're speaking a word that is immediately causing destruction to the soul that's coming into play. So in karma, you may feel guilt. I have a lot of family members that feel guilty, trust me, and that includes me. And I just lost a sister a month and a half, and there is like an abundance of guilt flowing in my family right now. And it's not even funny. Yeah, there is guilt. But what the Hinduism is telling you is, karma and guilt are not the same. As an individual, you have a free will whether you want to feel guilty or not. That's completely different. But in Hinduism, karma is not equal to guilt. Karma equal to lessons that need to be learned for you to become more conscious and elevate your soul to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Whereas when you take sin, you have to go to a priest and say, well, I have sinned. So, where is if you take karma, you are responsible to clear your karma, you alone. No one can come and help you release your karma. No God can come and erase your karma. No guru can come and erase your karma. Your mother and father cannot erase your karma. Only you can do it. Whereas
What
if
about
you
Mike?
say,
I'm a special case. We'll
you guys
just
are
leave
funny.
it at that.
This is not about portraying Hinduism as a better religion or not. What I'm trying to do is bring the truth out. We need to understand that, Christians in the US are right now doing a great job. They're the ones that are trying to uphold the moral code value. And we have to acknowledge that. What I'm trying to show is this is what Hinduism is saying. That doesn't mean Christianity gets negated. And plus, basically, in Hinduism, there are many paths to attain moksha and enlightenment. There's not one path. And whatever path one has chosen is what they have chosen at their birth. And it is completely valid. And I want people to understand that.
Okay, just to stir the pot, though.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's have some fun. Let's do it.
Do you mean that, like, the idea, from what I understand from Mitch about the difference between Catholicism and Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering from your point of view if you feel that both things are incorrect. Because if I'm getting this right, in Catholicism, you feel like you can go confess to a priest and then he will absolve you of sin,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the
Mm-hmm.
end of your karma. And
Correct.
then in Christianity, if you just give yourself to Christ, then he's going to clean up all your karma too.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Well, that's what I have learned. So it's funny, right? I've talked to Christians who say, oh, I'm not Catholic. Catholicism and not Christianity. And I kind of want to laugh, but you know what? Okay. But I've met Catholics who feel the same way as well. See, the thing is, it's not about Christianity or Catholicism. Let's take a step back and go to the deep state for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What they have done to Christianity is splinter them into billion pieces so that Christians can fight amongst themselves as who is right or wrong. That's the basic foundation of what has happened. If you take, Luther, right? The whole Lutheran side of thing. Who was it? Martin Luther in Europe, Germany. Am I right?
I don't know who they are, but there are Lutherans, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know the history.
I know a little bit. So, let's even take, for that matter, let's take England. England is Church of England. It's not Catholicism. But what they practice is Catholicism. It's not very far from Catholicism. So if you go back to England, what was it, 14th century, 13th century? Who was the king? It's skipping. Elizabeth, the old Elizabeth, her father, King, was it Edward? Doesn't matter. So he wanted to, marry someone else. And the Catholic Church at that time.
I think it was Henry VIII.
Henry VIII. Thank you. So Henry VIII, he sent a dispensation to the Pope saying, hey, I want to divorce this person. I want to remarry another person. And the Pope said, nope, I'm not going to give you the choice. And in those days in Europe, the Pope dictated everything.
Right.
So then the Henry VIII said, well, screw you. I'm going to go and form my own church. I don't have to ask you permission.
I just make up my own rules.
Exactly. So what has happened we have to acknowledge what has happened within Christianity. Because when you stay under one roof, it is very uncomfortable for those that are trying to control us. So they have to splinter something and come up with 1,000 different ways to look at it. And the same thing has happened in Hinduism right now. Okay. Hinduism has so many branches, and this person does this and that person says that's not wrong. They are trying to splinter. So it's not about whether it's Hinduism or Christianity. It is about what has been done to a particular, teaching. In India, people are trying to follow a guru. You can never get a guru to release your karma. It's not possible.
Like, so in your view, either having a priest absolve you of sin and clearing your karma that way, or giving yourself to Jesus Christ and then Jesus clears all your bad karma, neither of those things really work.
Doesn't. Because then where is your responsibility and accountability in that?
Okay, I've been curious about that. I was going to become a Christian because then Jesus could just handle it.
Mike, I would do the same if that was so easy. Literally, I would do it in a flash. Because, like the last 6 months of my life, I've been walking on a razor-thin blade. The amount of grief I carry in my heart is not, you can't even imagine. So, if there was something that would just take away all my grief and take away all my karma, I will turn into a Christian overnight. But I know that's not possible, because in Hinduism, what they did is they created something called a bhakti movement. Bhakti means just devotion to God. Okay? But core Hinduism is not about just devotion to God. It's called Shraddha. Shraddha means consciousness. You're going to go and ask yourself, are you doing the right thing? You have to evolve yourself. See, this is not some pill that you can take. So here's what they're doing, right? I want to lose weight. Take this pill. You can lose weight. Is it the same as someone going on a diet, someone who's doing yoga, someone who's exercising, someone who's walking, it's not the same. So nobody can absolve your sins or your karma.
Only you can do it, right? By living with compassion, and that's how you dissolve your karma, right?
It's not just compassion, right? We have to really look at ourselves and be our own teacher. We have to look at ourselves. Am I doing this right? Is my conscience telling me the right thing? Am I listening to my conscience, or am I listening to, my ego? The ego will never let you absolve your karmas. Never.
Right. Okay.
So that is something we need to look into.
So can I ask a question, or?
Yeah.
It's kind of a question leading into a story, maybe, but so just to clarify, how do you as a Hindu person, I apologize if I'm not saying this correctly, because I only graduated high school because Mike let me. So
that's so nice of you, Mike.
I'll be bringing that up when I get judged. Hey, I helped Mitch.
But so as a Christian, we do things or choose to do things based kind of on faith. It's kind of a multi-part question. So my first question is karma a reactive? If it was, substance, I know substance not the right word, but let's just, as for this question, is karma strictly a reactive thing? In other words, can you foreshadow and get karma? Is karma something that, or is it only a reactive to something you do?
Not necessarily. So there's karma, very simply put, is how I explained it. Karma is very complex because you don't know what you did in your last life. How would you know? So it can't be reactive. Some of your own karma, you may not even know. So you can't go and say, oh, what's the list of my karma? You can't. So it's literally, that's where faith plays a role. You have to have faith in your experiences. What experience are you having at this moment? Like when I lost my sister 6 weeks ago, it was so difficult, like, to think that I lost my younger sister. But then I had to do my own inner, self-discovery. And I realized, based on the karma, in this moment in lifetime, I have to experience this. I don't have a choice. So that's not a reactive, my sister passing away. It was something that happened in reality. So how you react to a situation is karma.
Okay,
how do you react to that?
So Well, what I was getting to expand on it, and maybe maybe this will make sense, or maybe it won't. So, when it comes to faith as a Christian,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make up a story. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say as a Christian, I'm walking down the street and I've got $20 to my name and no
Mm-hmm.
job. And there's a family over there with 4 kids. And so I walk over and I say, here's my last $20. You take it. So as a Christian, my faith tells me that I'm going to give this money in faith because I believe in the Lord, and I believe that the Lord will provide for me, because I'm doing this act, I'm doing this sacrifice of selfishness, and that I have faith that He will provide for me, so I don't need this $20, and I give it to the family.
And that's perfectly fine as well, because see, it's not whether it's right or wrong, Mitch, it's the path you're taking. Do you have the conviction on your path? So basically, if you're just doing it blindly because it could be Christ or someone said it, or are you doing it out of your own conscience? Because you can never remove yourself regardless of who told you that. You're still an integral part of that action, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you feel? How is your conscience? So let me give you another example. Let's say your family is starving and you see someone else starving as well. How do you deal with it? Do you say, like, okay, based on the faith, I know my family will be cared for, I'm going to give you this $20 to other person? See, it's very subjective.
Right.
You know,
So my question on that is, from the karma side, doing that. So I explained why a Christian would do that, and then they would have faith that something's gonna take care of them. From a karma side, you wouldn't. Is it possible to receive karma at the time you're giving it? Like if I was a Hindu person and I performed that act, how would the Hindu person, I talked about, I'm going to have faith in the Lord. So my question to you is, you as a Hindu with your religion, how do you view that scenario? How would you do that scenario as a Hindu person?
Got it. So, in Hinduism, it's not black and white like that. See, it's about, see, is it this or that? It's not a yes or no question.
Okay.
Okay, it's not a hard and fast rule that you have. It's literally about what you're doing in this moment with that situation. It's moment by moment by moment by moment. And you could react to the same exact situation 2 days later, you could react differently. So for example, I'll use my own example. I have given money to people when I really didn't have it. There are times like I didn't have $100, but I've given to people. And I literally, the only reason I gave it was I was filled with compassion. Okay. But the same person, if they come tomorrow, they haven't changed their lifestyle, I will not give that $100 to them.
Me neither.
You see the point? So it's basically,
right.
It's about being human.
$100, by the way.
Hey, what do you mean? I fronted you 25 years of
that's
two
right.
men with a mic.
$100. We made
for his birthday.
$4.71 on our podcast, and then for my birthday, Mitch gave me a $100 bill. And he's like, this is a cash advance on like all the earnings that we're gonna have. Or in America, worth 1 tank of gas.
Good one. I like that.
So I was trying to get an understanding of this, Uma, because one of the reasons that I'm a Christian, and I'm curious to hear your guys' stories and our reaction to this story. So, and I know Mike has heard this, but I know you haven't. There's things that I've done in my life, along those lines. And what I was trying to get an understanding of was, when it comes to karma, is it possible for karma to come back to you before you've performed an act? In other words, a good deed. So, in other words, does karma work where it will say, you know what, we know you're going to do this good deed, so we're going to go ahead and advance you that $100 so you can give it to somebody? Does karma work like that?
So that's a very tricky question. Like I said, like, there's no hard and fast rules, or, it's not black and white. Here's the thing about karma, right? Let's come out of the religious aspect of it just for a second.
Okay, no, that's fine.
So this is because if you take religion, it gets very tricky to answer it from that perspective. When you have an intention, the intention, a good intention, is a scalar longitudinal wave. Okay, so what does that mean? It means it has no barriers. If I think of a thought that's really good about you, Mitch, you will instantaneously feel it.
Oh, I did. Thank you.
So that's what I'm talking about. It's instantaneous. So let's take Christianity out. Let's take Hinduism out. In quantum physics, it's an instantaneous manifestation depending on the energy you give to it. There are times I drag my feet with something and it doesn't get manifested immediately. And who is the reason behind it? It's me. So that $100 has already been manifested if I wanted it. But if I'm going to drag my feet and say, oh my God, look at my life, I'll get it. I know I have, you know what I mean?
I understand that.
An energy being. Every single cell in your body is vibrating. Whether you want to vibrate at a higher frequency or lower frequency is dependent on your thoughts and your actions and your intentions behind it.
Okay. So I have a story, and I want to get your interpretation of this as a Hindu person, and I know we're not putting religion in it, but my question to you is, if this was to happen to you, how would you interpret it from your religious beliefs? I mean, okay. I know how I interpret it, and I'll share mine, but I want to share mine after you share yours, just because I can. Okay. But so let me tell you this first story. I have a couple of them. So, and so these are not, just to clarify, and I've shared these with Mike and stuff like that, but these are my own personal experiences. So these are not anything I heard passed down from my brother in a nightmare, or it read somewhere or anything. These are just a couple of my own personal experiences. So this first one I wanted to bring up to you was, so my wife and I were, struggling. We're always on, right? We're middle class poor. So, we make enough to pay our taxes, but we don't make enough to buy food. So, that's kind of where we live. And we had a tax bill that was due. Not a lot. It was like $117 and some change, right? So we owed but I mean, that was a lot of money for us, and paydays when payday is, and wasn't coming around the corner too soon. And so because of our religious beliefs, there's a part in the Bible. Basically, it just says, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, meaning pay your taxes, kind of in that, and then, kicking ourselves with God, why are we going to give this money away? What does it matter? If we give it away, how are we going to feed ourselves? Right. It was $117, but we said, well, you know what, we're just going to have faith that it's going to be okay. And we're going to go ahead and pay this bill. So we wrote the check, put it in the mail in the morning, then when we came home, we got the mail, and in the mail was a check from, I was working like 3 jobs at this time, and I had been teaching, which is a scary thought, right, Mike? but I had been teaching, and I had been teaching at this place for a few years, kind of part-time. So we had a letter from them. They, in the letter, they said that every so often they randomly pick an employee and send them a little bonus check. So never knew anything about it, never got another one, anything like that. The check was for the exact same amount as our taxes, down to the penny that we had paid.
Okay, so first of all, to add some levity to this, I don't want to pay my taxes anymore. I'm trying to figure out a solution to that.
Don't work.
That's one way of doing it, but I really don't want to pay these guys anymore because of what has been going on, and we don't owe us any. We don't really owe them anything. But that's a separate conversation. So, taking a step back, when I do something, Mike, I'm not thinking I'm a Hindu, therefore I'm doing it. I never do. And whether this is going to be hard to digest, but I'm going to say whether we are a Hindu or a Christian, our action does determine, our action, intention, and thought does determine whether we agree to this or not. It does determine our future in the current and the future. Do you agree with that or not?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter. You can see a lot of crooks who are Hindus. You can see a lot of good people that are Hindus. You can see a lot of crooks that are Christians, and they're good. You know what I mean? So I don't think it really matters whether I'm thinking it because I'm a Hindu. Whereas in Christianity, see, the difference between Hindus and Christianity is in Christianity, the Bible is a very sacred document that everybody reads to every day. I'm not talking to everybody, but like people who are true Christians and hardcore Christians read it. And there are Hindus like me who has never read the Bhagavad Gita, who has never read the Vedas, who has never read any of the spiritual documents. Okay, so I really think it's also Christians, for them, the Bible is the legal document, and they do go by what it says, and they do follow it, and it's a good thing. However, we still have to go back to our own conscience and question certain things, because if you take Hinduism, there are certain things that has been done for a long time that I question. Why do we do this? And there's nothing wrong with that questioning status, because we cannot expand our consciousness without questioning something and being clear why we're doing it. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, mm-hmm. I agree with that. I was just, for my part, I was just saying that, what I looked at as that was the fact that I had faith that everything would work out. Mm-hmm. And I went ahead and, using the nudge of my Christianity, because there were times when I didn't pay my taxes and I went and bought weed and alcohol instead. But
that's not a bad thing either, compared to paying the taxes. But anyways,
yeah.
But I agree with you. See, but here's what I want to inject for a second. What you did was, when you created that intention, you were pure in your heart. See, that matters a lot. When we're doing something, when we're doing with a clear conscience, and we know why we are doing it and what we are doing, and we're not doing, some people say, oh, you know what, I'm just going to do it without any consciousness, without any conscience. They just are going through the motions. But you set an intention. You knew it was going to get. That is called, that is completely the quantum tunneling effect of what you just did, because it created something for it to manifest immediately. Don't you agree with that?
Yeah.
That's my, I don't know what.
Could it be said, like, a Christian might say, I have faith in God, but a Hindu might say, I have an understanding of karma. And so, roughly speaking, like, if I do something good, then something good will come back to me. So in a way, that's sort of like faith, but really maybe a Hindu would say it's more of an understanding of the law of karma.
Honestly, Mike, I don't really go that deep into it when I'm doing something.
Mm.
See, but basically, let's all agree with it. We all three are humans here, and we know that, right? As a human, I react to things based on how I have been raised and based on my own karma and who I am as a person. For me, it never comes to my mind, oh, I'm a Hindu, therefore I have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That never crosses my brain. I never do it just because, I that is what Hinduism dictates me. If you take, let's take, for example, there are Christians who don't follow Christianity and they're perfectly great human beings. And there are Hindus who don't follow Hinduism, they're great beings. I don't think it's because someone is Hindu or because someone is Christian, they're doing the right thing. People who are conscious.
I agree with that. And I want to just clear something up on here. I am not what you would call a rule following Christian.
Okay.
I believe in God and I believe in Christianity. I just, there's some things I have issues with, like, having to go to church every Sunday. Mm-hmm. And, so I don't do all the things. I'm kind of like what you just said, where kind of like you, honestly, right? I mean,
you're kind of a heretic, right?
Oh my God.
So
that'll be you.
Don't travel through Salem, Mitch.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Mitch's first letter?
Yes.
Okay, you just put a W in there. He cannot pass through Salem.
Yes.
Lord.
So yeah, I don't. I believe in what you say and kind of the way you are as a Hindu. I think that each and every one of us, and I think that's what the three of us can agree on, is that you have to come to it of your own understanding, that it like you have been saying, right? Everybody has their own path that they have to follow and go down. I don't turn to the church. I turn to the church for friends, but I don't turn to the church as laws to follow, that sort of thing. So one of the things that has kind of happened to me that has pushed me to believe in a higher power, just in general, to believe, and then kind of like what you're saying of do the right thing, act the right way, be a good person, and either God or karma or energy or whatever is going to take care of you or help you, I should say.
Yeah, we don't need religion to be a good person. We don't need someone to tell us how to be a good person. However, our parents can teach us a lot of things. Like if we look at religion and we look at it from a perspective of growth, it's way different than looking at it as like, the only place to retrieve to for any answers. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. For example, if you take the Vedas, there are 4 Vedas. In Christianity, you have a Bible. In Hinduism, there are 4 Vedas. And the 4 Vedas contain everything you need to know about a human existence. It contains yoga, it contains medicine, it's not just about God alone. It's not just about, spirituality alone. It's about how do you take care of your body? What herbs do you do? What do you eat? How do you, what kind of diet should you follow? And all these are in the Vedas. What happened is when the British came in, there was something called, something happened in Kashmir. That's why Kashmir is a disputed land even today between India and Pakistan. It's not a disputed land because of the religion. It is a disputed land because a dispute was created. What they did is they took a whole bunch of pundits who were Sanskrit scholars and priests. They took them to England. And what they did in England was they tortured them and made them write verses in Sanskrit and injected it into the Vedas.
Mm.
And
up.
That's what I'm talking about. This is why I'm saying even
Meghan and Harry were behind it, weren't they?
No, who was behind it was the Rothschild and the deep state.
Right.
Elizabeth.
Well, they're in there, I think.
Who was it?
Meghan and Harry are in there.
Meghan. Oh, I heard something else. Oh, of course. Oh my God, she's something.
Meghan or Harry is like Prince Charles' son.
Of course, she's everywhere. I know. I know. I was like, I thought you were talking about Mary and someone. I was like, yeah. Oh, Meghan and Harry. I mean, oh gosh, she is something. So and they killed all these priests so that the truth doesn't come out.
But did that really make its way into the Vedas? So, like,
absolutely,
if you picked up the Vedas today, it would be in there.
So here's what happened. So a lot of people have known about it, but the truth has been. So what they did is they literally massacred Hindus, and the Hindu genocide has never been spoken about or talked about in the media. They talked about every other Holocaust, but they did not talk about the Hindu Holocaust. Nobody knows of it. About 90 million Hindus were killed between 1800s and a little bit before, maybe until the 1900s. And the partition of India was another genocide that happened. And in 900 AD, Goa, which is a very fun state in India, Goa was actually owned by the Portuguese. So there was a person, I think his name was Francis, who actually did, what happened in there was a Inquisition in India, just like the Spanish Inquisition happened in Spain. And people were tortured and killed. And if they did not convert to Catholicism, they were killed. So this is what I think humans, let's look at it as humans. We have to understand what happened. So what did they do to the Bible? They manipulated the Bible as well. So what in Vedas, what happened was they took all these negative comments and they started propagating around the world that Hindus are heathens, they don't know what they're doing, they're too backwards, look at what they're propagating, blah, 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 blah. In that, they injected the caste system, which did not exist before the white invader came into play. So this is where the history is completely effed up. They're not speaking the truth.